This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 15th of July 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am GK, and in case you missed the headlines, here they are. So in the Standard, handshake team seeks powerful PM. In the Daily Nation, Ruto, rebel or warrior? And in the Star, why Ruto is on a warpath with Tuju.
Oh, wow. It's all about Ruto, right?
It is, it is, and referendum.
Yes, and referendum. But I say let's start with, you have a breaking news.
We have breaking news. Before we delve into this, there was a royal wedding.
How could we forget?
Somewhere in Kenya. And the reason I'm calling it royal was because there was a coronation of Anne Mobi Waiganjo.
Oh yes, she's not WAIGURU anymore.
She's not WAIGURU, all right? And I mean, give it to the governor. I'm really struggling not to say WAIGURU. Give it to the governor. She played this well. Yes, beautiful wedding, culturally superb, but she did not waste it. And it looked, she invited the president, invited former prime minister. I don't know whether our friend from Kamagot was invited.
Well, he should have been if he wasn't. He was glaringly absent from the festivities, but I think etiquette is that they should have invited him.
And allow him to say no, but invite him nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So why is this a coronation?
It's a coronation, and Anne Mobi Waiganjo is a new queen of Gema. And it is because someone is looking for a running mate come 2022.
But where would all the other people with political capital that they've amassed over the years have gone? Where's Kalonzo? Where's Musalia?
Queen of Gema.
Oh, of the Gema.
Queen of Gema.
Self-professed or?
No, you see, she has to be chosen. I don't know that she was chosen by the people, but for a fact, she was chosen by dynasties.
All right, interesting.
All right, let's look at that. So there's a three-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines. Is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
I think what we're saying today is all the headlines are very good. I think out the bat we will say that. We're very impressed. They all are very catching. They're very topical.
If we look at the Ruto ones, I have one question. Is Ruto creating obstacles for himself? First it was assassination mysteries, and then now it's
he's fighting
a fight with a party secretary general.
William Ruto knows very well he will be played. Whether he plays nice or whether he's
he's creating the mischief himself.
I mean, he has to fight.
But to what end? Why would you cannibalize into your support base?
Either way, he'll be
just
played.
Knowing that you're going to get played.
I actually don't think he's cannibalizing his support base. I actually think he's getting supporters by the day. This hustler narrative is taking over on the ground.
In my opinion, Ruto has the CV for the job. He's done his 10,000 hours. He has worked for this. So it's there for him, for the taking. When you create these sideshows, that's what worries me. Because the appetite for you it becomes shaky.
I see your point.
And is Tuju the worthy opponent?
No, he's not going at Tuju.
CS without
all the people to fight with.
Ruto is not going at Tuju, guys. Ruto is going at Uhuru Kenyatta.
So if we have to compare the two headlines, which one do you guys prefer?
I prefer the Star.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that the Star is it's an inquisitive headline. Instead of stating it, it's asking us, why is Ruto on this warpath with Tuju? And it's the same thing we're asking right now. Is Tuju the worthy opponent?
And it actually says, is it aimed at the president? So we can already see we're opening up some lines of inquiry on this.
Absolutely. Then I would have gone with the nation, the rebel warrior, but since they have hinted here that it's
but if I were him, Ruto, pick a side, let people know, be the opposition. But this trying to cry foul every 5 minutes.
So I think we're tossing the Daily Nation before, and let's look at the Standard in order to compare.
Okay, so Standard, handshake team seeks powerful prime minister. This is also a really good headline. This is the first time now we're hearing up front what the Building Bridges Initiative has been doing, right? So they've been going all over the country, and they have some proposals, and some of them look quite compelling.
7 years, one term.
For the president,
and a strong prime minister.
Elected by parliament.
I think it begs the question, is Uhuru
Let me tell
buying time? Does he want
Kenyans have been saying, oh, now handshake, it's time for us to sit together as communities and love each other. Let me tell you, handshake was about people getting jobs. It's not about you.
And I think what we're saying about this report that's come out now, this is elite consensus. We're seeing the dynasties have come to an agreement. They are telling Kenyans this is what is happening. This is not, it's not a suggestion.
And on the flip side, Ekuru's referendum call is supposed to be the Punguza Mzigo, the people's referendum. And a constitution is there to reorder the priorities of Kenyans.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So we're going to see which one comes out on top.
But I think also what's also important is for us to recognize that as Kenyans, we shouldn't be afraid of referendums. We shouldn't be afraid of constitutional change. The West, there are countries who do it constantly every year. It's just reflecting the views of society. So, but if we were to decide between these two headlines now?
Okay, now I will go, I'll still stay with this one.
Yeah, no, I think this is more interesting.
I still like the warpath.
I'm tired of referendum speak.
Alright, so we have our winning headline from the Star. Let us move to the political pieces that we call cartoons. And just like the headlines, we have a three-part criteria that we use to break them down. We ask are they humorous?
Yes.
Or is it dry? Is it satirical? That word. Or is it pessimistic? And we ask, is it effective or just plain lazy?
Every Monday with The Nation, we know what we're going to get. It's going to be Iga, it's going to be a comic strip, and we're going to toss it.
Well, I don't, but I do think the issue is pertinent.
It is.
Yes,
maize has been used as a political tool in this country for far too long.
Yes.
And Kionjori is at the brunt of it because he's asking for maize to be imported.
Yes.
And I side with him. Whatever is in the reserves is not enough.
It's not enough,
And if it is enough, half of it is not good quality enough to be used, right? So either we plan better.
Every year we have the same issues.
What I feel like is the government needs a better PR machine. So just communicate when there's going to be a drought cycle, prepare the farmers, educate them, have transparent import program. It's true. I mean, there's ways around this.
Hope Kionjoli is listening.
Mr. Kionjoli.
Take note.
Find us at the 5th estate.
But I still think we're tossing.
Toss it.
Mondays are predictable in the Daily Nation.
And then we have Gado.
Oh, Gado.
Yeah, I think he took us to Mogadishu over the killings that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It was on Friday where Al-Shabaab killed, 26 people. The place looked like a war zone. I mean, but this goes to show you that anyone who says that all terrorists are Somalis, they killed their own people. They don't just come and kill people here. So I think we must do away with the victimization.
I think what was interesting about this cartoon is the juxtaposition between this profound statement he makes that I thought maybe came from somewhere. And he says, and the faceless cowards ran into the darkness where they belong. But when dawn comes, we'll find them. Then you have the Al-Shabaab running away with the...
Yes, but when you're saying Mogadishu, it happened in Kismayo.
In Kismayo,
so...
I
don't think... people have died, but I don't think it is a winning cartoon.
Okay, all right. Two of them have spoken. Finally.
Yes.
In the Star.
Wow.
So you want to describe it?
Yes. A drawing of a cow being led by one Matiang'i.
And the cow is tied up.
The cow is tied up.
It's not allowed to speak.
And it's called betting
It's called betting farm. And it is fat and its udders are full of milk.
It's a cash
but what's
cow.
in the bucket?
Money. And they're saying there are no sacred cows. Look, I was very, I was not so happy on Friday when I said the state should not interfere with private interests. But on Saturday, the president said something to me that was very profound.
At the coronation?
Yeah, at the coronation. At the coronation.
Yes.
And he said some of my friends are here, I think some of the guys that own betting farms. And he says all he wants is money, is his tax money. But I'm like...
What about the youth?
Not even that. Should any time government want taxes, that the best way is to twist them into closing?
But I think when you find a viable industry such as the betting farms, a lot of rent seeking tends to happen around
Absolutely.
And so for a government that is in debt, a government that doesn't have, is not meeting its targets, I think these guys become
a target, but that doesn't create a conducive environment for businesses to operate.
But I am on the government side with this because I feel like betting farms need to play their part. They need to be responsible. Agreed. There's a lot of young people who are...
But at the same time, we could flip those exact same statements and apply them to the government. The government needs to do their part, right? They also need to play by the rules. So
you see, what I didn't take well is that the president can actually stand up in front of people and say that he has
also earned the right. He is the president.
But does it mean every enterprise in this country will be waking up to find out that their business has been closing? That has been closed because of someone's...
So is this our winning cartoon? Hey, wow, that's all right, let me call it. There's no winning cartoon today then, is there?
No winning cartoon.
All right, but what is our final thought?
And now our final thought, inspired by a short story by Kane Prize winner. That's what it's called. Kane Prize winner, Binyavanga Wainaina. And the story is called, is entitled Discovering Home. You want to give us a summary?
Yeah, sure. So the late Wainaina wrote Discovering Home first as a short story. He wrote it while he was studying in South Africa. But then it was written into an expanded version in 2006. And he did indeed win the Case Prize for African Writing in 2002 for this short story. So with the money he received from the Kane Prize, he actually started the Kwani Trust, which I think is a very good reflection of the kind of person he is. He didn't buy a Hummer, he didn't buy a piece of land. He said, let me start this trust and give back, you know, to other writers. So this book takes us on a journey from Cape Town, South Africa, through Kenya, and it eventually ends in Uganda at a family event. All the while, the protagonist, because this is Binyavanga writing, it is his story, but he's writing it through the eyes of another person. All the while, the protagonist is discovering home, home being Kenya. And I see the key theme in this book being identity. So in his self-exile, because he calls it self-exile, he was not sent away, in South Africa, it slowly transforms him into a stranger in his own motherland. He comes back to Kenya and he finds that he doesn't know the country that he thought he did.
He feels like an alien.
But at the same time, this exile enables him to have a distant but objective look at his country. And I think that maybe this is why the story is called Discovering Home rather than Rediscovering Home. Because it's a bit of an oxymoron. He's discovering a place that you would think he already knew. And I think this is part of the difference between the post-colonial writers that we looked at in the African Writers series and the contemporary ones who wrote thereafter. Because I find that our history was, and our culture was fed to us by our parents and our ancestors who lived through the colonial experience. But then after the post-colonial life, I don't think we really understood who we were, where we came from, what we were about, because we were grappling between this Western thing and then this, Kenyan ideology. And so here, these contemporary writers were now rediscovering a Kenya, or rather discovering a Kenya that they thought they understood from the eyes of their parents, now through their own lens. And they're asking, what does it mean to be Kenyan? What does it mean to be African?
And he actually comes back to Kenya at a time when Moi is just about to leave. And he actually, I think, has just voted for Kibaki. And so there's 24 years of dictatorship. So when he's writing these stories, you're also seeing an experience of Kenya discovering itself.
Transition.
And certain tribes coming out and becoming stronger than they were, or even just being able to speak and be authentically themselves. I think the different stories, his use of different stories, also elaborate on a cultural divide between those living in the urban areas in Kenya, those living in the rural areas, because he starts off firstly in Umtata in South Africa, goes to Nairobi and then takes these drives to Nairobi, Nakuru and all that stuff. And so you really start to see how different Kenyans were opening up, how government was beginning to behave, there's corruption. Through these stories you see different themes of unemployment, poverty, corruption. And so it was really good for me.
Fantastic book, and biggest takeaway from this book is a cultural alienation that was there in the past, but it was caused, in my view, by class. And he says that two different types of people separated by a line. On one side are those people wearing third-hand clothes, eating rotten food, and still able to pay school fees. Then on the other side of the line are these very exotic people, all right? They are full of class and they sit around coffee tables. Point is this: when he came back to Kenya and he got a job, he took a drive through the counties, through districts, with a guy called Karaoke.
The driver.
The driver. Now, the driver was very quiet every time he was driving him. But whenever he got to have a drink with the chiefs and with other people, he opened up.
That's who he connected with.
You know? And he says his biggest story when he was at home and when he was in South Africa was how the old people looked at him. They said, oh, these guys don't have any manners. How does your society behave? You know? And all that he could conjure up then was how his structure upwards was. But for him to rediscover the country, he had to go through social economic classes that he was not part of before.
That's true.
And yes, it was, for me, it was the divide by class.
Yeah, and we're also starting to see and we'll see, I guess, during the week, of writers who are starting to write about Africa in a very different way.
Right.
So what you're saying is it's not the post-colonial experience. Yes. Now, we're in the post-independent state, and we're starting to see how is the different cultures, how am I, what's my place in the world, what's my place in the country, what's my place in society, right? And there's a part in the book which I think he then borrows from when he says how to write about Africa, which is the narrator questions the romanticized view of Africa portrayed by Wazungu writers. So this is something we're seeing like over many books, they have plenty of game and cheetahs and things like that. And he's like, I've never even seen 3 snakes.
Yeah, he talks about how they say they have snakes falling from the ceilings. And he says, that's not my reality.
That's not and so he also puts that into context. You start to see that very clearly. So I think he does that very well. And at the end of the day, it's a story of a young cosmopolitan man.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I think we can all relate to liking Western songs and juxtaposing that with
I am a Kenyan, I have my traditional values, traditional expectations.
Exactly. So he paints a very vivid picture of what Kenyans and young people were going through at that time.
Do you guys find it funny that when he came back from the airport and is coming to Nairobi and he's talking about matatus and he says the art in the matatus to him was the real art. And he says what art is defined in maybe modern families in middle class Kenya is that which you would see in an art gallery that will make sense and get some profit from Western art lovers. It's because when you're creating that art, the person you have in mind is who?
The buyer.
The buyer. And the buyer is who?
The Muzungu. The Muzungu.
Yes.
Okay, well, let me leave you with this quote. He says in the book, "When I left, I was relieved that I had escaped the burdens and guilt of being in Kenya, of facing my roots and repudiating them. Here I am looking for them again." And so to you guys, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever you choose to assimilate as your ethnicity or your culture, discover yourself and feel free to do so. Nobody can take that away from you.
Absolutely.
So today we had a winning headline from the Star, Why We Told An Award Cartoon Teacher. And I had no winning cartoons, but I think hopefully we'll find a throwback one tomorrow.
June 3, all of them, before you could decide.
But we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
See you.